Well, Ken, I feel warm and fuzzy right now. We're in the room together.
First time in a while. It seems weird, doesn't it?
It
like
does
when you're
seem weird.
when you're
yeah,
doing the show week after week after week. I'm not even sure what show number this one is.
Well, this is show number 1937.
Ooh,
That's,
getting up there.
Getting up there. Another
about a year and a bit, eh?
We're looking at the show on March 24th next year, 2025 will mark our 2000th show.
Wow, on March 24th, that's my dad's birthday.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
And speaking of birthdays, happy belated. You had your 29th birthday.
Yeah.
Your 20.
Yeah.
Your February 29th birthday. You were a leap baby.
I
don't know many leap babies, but I know
there's
one.
Not a lot. There's not a lot out there, and it's just been so wonderful. Like, it's been an amazing week, right? Literally since last weekend, all the way to this show. It's just been awesome. There's so many people reaching out, and well wishers, and that it's been quite overwhelming, really. So I've been touched.
You're never going to catch up to me, though.
I'm trying, Don. I'm trying. I'm going as fast as I can.
Let's do the tips and plants of the week. This is the Garden Show.
You betcha.
Time to get some peas in the ground. It's a short thing, but I've got my peas in already. But for those folks who haven't got any peas in the ground, get the peas in because they love this weather. Perfect weather.
I want you to tell me when they shoot.
I will.
Yep.
There are many choices for plants. Tip of the week right now. I mean, they're all over the place. There's stuff coming up. The winter aconite and all sorts of things are coming up.
Yeah, one of my favorites.
Yeah. But, however, one of my favorite plants in the garden doesn't last very long. Maybe 3 to 4 weeks, maybe a month. It's in bloom. Is this little iris, Catherine Hodgkin's dwarf? Look that up. Google Catherine Hodgkin's dwarf iris, and you'll see the most beautiful pale blue and yellow with yellow in it. And, it's a gorgeous thing. And it only grows about 6 inches high.
Yeah, and the blooms are large for that.
Huge blooms, but 6 inches high. And it's really spreading out nicely in the garden. I got a nice clump of it now. And Ken Salvail has said he's coming by at night with his shovel. He's going to get
my ninja outfit.
That's my tip and plant.
All right. I also have a tip and a plant, and my tip of the week is that it's always a wise idea whenever you're doing seeding. This is seeding season right now. It's to always use a small fan to keep the air moving around your seedlings. Really important to keep the plants wiggling and moving back and forth. That gets them ready for reality so that when it does come time to move them out, the wind actually strengthens them and gets them used to being in the real atmosphere. The other thing it does is helps to prevent diseases on the plants because some spores and things land on the plants and then sort of moisture builds up on the outer parts of the plants. It may cause disease to get started, so that moving air just really helps keep them on track and help to prevent those diseases. All right, now I also have a plant of the week this week, which is celery. And why celery? Because this is when you seed celery right at the beginning of March. End of February is okay too. But celery is a bit of a longer crop to get going. And if you haven't grown it, you should try it because it's fairly easy to grow. It just takes a bit longer. So get it in early, get it on the heated pad, and then maybe a little grow light and hang in there. It really can't go out until about the middle of May, so keep an eye on that. But wow, sure worth it to get that nice, sweet, crispy celery. All right, that's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com and Grower Coach on YouTube.
Ken, so much in that. Now I've forgotten everything. I was going to ask you some questions. Well, first of all, the celery, does it have any insect issues that are predominant?
No.
I didn't think
so.
I didn't think so.
The only thing that I had grasshoppers were getting in there, but they just eat the leaves, which I'm not. I just want the stems.
Let's do a little kung fu on them.
Yeah, and then sometimes maybe slugs or snails, that sort of thing.
Kind of thing.
But no aphids, no spider mites. At least not as. Yeah, I've never had anything yet. I've been growing it now, I think, for 3 or 4 years. So
that's great.
But it was something that I never really thought I could even really grow. And then I thought, well, what the heck? Let's try it, and started seeding it, and did a little studying on it. And, yeah, it's been just super successful.
Well, you look at my mom's seeding records: celery, begonias, Spanish onions, all these early things that they put in. Off the bat, which
probably
is I've got to get a hold of that now. I've got lots of records of what she did. I didn't throw that out yet. Anyway, celery would be a good thing to grow in the Okanagan. There used to be a huge celery industry here.
Oh, okay,
huge Okanagan celery growers. It was a big deal. Not anymore, but at some point back in the day, I remember the trucks going by with big boxes of celery on the back, and on the side on the truck it says Okanagan celery growers. It is getting mild. This morning it didn't freeze last night, and yet it did. At least in my yard, it didn't freeze last night. It did.
But about 3 nights ago, we had that -7 or whatever.
The Weather Network did say that it froze last night, but that they're in a different world than I am down by the lake. I live in La La Land down on Rhonda Crescent there. But it's going to warm up not too high today in Kelowna, maybe about 3, 4 maybe in my backyard. Anyway, I've got a little weather station there. Victoria, you're nice and warm in Victoria, and that's always nice to know. Victoria listeners are sort of one step ahead of us right now, and we'd love to hear from you about what's going on in the gardens in Victoria, because Ken and I are here, and we don't have that camera. We should have some cameras of people's gardens.
Have
in
some
Victoria, webcams, so we can see what's going on with folks there.
Yeah, I wonder if they have any, maybe like a Bouchard or something, or one of the botanical gardens.
They could have. They just might have.
Yeah.
Well, give us a call, 250-862-2525 if you're in the Okanagan area here, 1-888-780-4273 if you are in Victoria or anywhere online. Hey, if anything will get you into spring, these last 2 events that we've been involved with,
right?
The Seattle Flower Show and the Kelowna Garden Club. The Seattle Garden Show theme was I Love Spring. The theme for the Kelowna Garden Clubs was Gardening into the Future.
Yeah.
4 great speakers. I enjoyed every one of them. I was glued, especially yours. Not especially yours, but including yours, Ken. It was very, very well done. And, it's amazing what's going on and what's going to happen down the pipe. And what happened before is interesting, too, because history, we can always learn from our past mistakes and our past successes. So that's what it's all about. But congratulations to the Kelowna Garden Club for the effort they put in and the amount of response they got.
Success,
very successful.
Yeah, I think it would be really nice if that was an annual event. I'm just saying.
I mentioned that to Linda or one of the other gals in the garden club, and they went, "Oh
no,
that was a lot of work to put that on."
Pass it on to somebody else.
Right. Some corporate person will come in and take over.
Something like that. But it's something. There's so many good gardeners, and we need opportunities to get together. Yeah. It's like CD Sunday's coming up. That's next weekend, right? So in Kelowna area, the CD Sunday in Victoria was on the 25th, so last weekend, and it's such a great event. There's so many gardeners get out to that. And it's an opportunity to learn, opportunity to get fresh seed and new varieties, and even some plant material they sell now, and some homemade items. It's a good fundraiser as well. Yeah, so it's really cool.
We've in our garden we've got garlic coming up very nicely, Ken, and of course because of that drop down to minus 22.5 back in February, early February, which was really. It wasn't unseasonal, but it was
the way it came in.
The way it came. It was so mild, and I thought, oh, boy, garlic's already starting to push a bit. Is it going to get hurt? No, it's fine, and it's coming up so well now. I do have a cluster of bulbs. I'm not sure what they are, but they were some I got from Helen, and they are over by my workshop, and they were coming up looking so good before that frost, like green shoots, and then bang, they're brown. Those shoots, those nice green shoots are now brown. I'm going to be interested to see if they redo themselves or if that frost penetrated right down and got the bulb.
Yeah, very difficult to say.
Might have been a tender. It might have been a tender bulb,
Yeah, well, I've experienced that in the past where I used to have these beautiful little, this sort of a dwarf daffodil, which is right along the side of the house, along the south side, and right up close to the house. And they would always be super early up and going and blooming in February and looking so great. And the one year they got zapped. We had a minus 25, and that was the end of those. But it was pretty hard on them.
You and I are blah, 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 blah. We've got 2 patient callers waiting online. It's now time to take a break. Maddie, we're so sorry, but we're going to have to take a break, I think. But the folks, are we going to take a break? Quick break? Yeah, we're going to do that. No, we got Andy and we got Linda. Please hang on. I'm so sorry. Oh, they've got another one coming in, too. So we better go. Spring is sprung.
Spring is sprung.
We'll take a short break. We'll be back with your calls after this short break. We're going right to the phone calls here. Andy, good morning. Thanks for giving us a shout here.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. How are the garden growers this morning?
We're pretty good. We're pretty good. Feeling all right.
Time to start thinking about getting the lawn ready for the year. What do you guys know, aside from it's non-invasive, what do you know about non-invasive aeration?
Non-invasive, meaning what?
Well, I got a hold of one of the lawn service companies, and they're telling me they do non-invasive aeration. I don't know. Never heard of it. Have you?
Well, maybe what they're doing is spiking rather than coring.
Oh,
You think, Ken? You think that might be it?
Yeah, well, that's one of the ways, that it is done. It's not quite as effective, but it depends on how they do it, right? Like if maybe they have a new type of a machine or something, you never know. But core aeration, like with, say, golf courses, like what we do is we follow sort of the treatments that golf courses use because they have the highest traffic areas and whatnot, and they aerate quite regularly.
Yeah, they plug. The reason I like the plugging aspect is that you're actually removing some of the possibly clay product. And now some people just leave the plugs on the lawn. I like to rake them off. And then add your sand or your top dress on top, and that sand or top dress goes down.
Fills those plugs,
and
those holes. Yeah.
To me, that's true aeration. However, there's lots of ways to skin a cat, and that may be the non-invasive. I'm going to look into that, Andy. I'm not sure what that really means.
Yeah, good. So you rake the plugs off. You don't leave them on?
I rake them off, yeah.
Yeah, and then for me, I usually leave them on. Okay. But it's because we don't always top dress. Because Don is right on the money. You should generally top dress. If you want a really nice lawn, you aerate. We use a power rake or a dethatcher, the power rake. And what it'll do is it'll strip the lawn of the thatch, so it'll go through and cut the surface roots. And then the aeration puts the plugs in, and then a nice top dress with a sandy compost mix is just a sweet finish of that. And that gives you just this beautiful finished product, and that's ideal. Right?
I guess
you throw a little grass seed in there too.
Oh, absolutely,
sure.
Overseeding is a fabulous thing to do
every year. Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, so I think that it depends on your situation and your soil conditions as whether you leave the plugs on or off. If you've got a real clay condition that you're trying to alleviate, then taking them away would be a good thing. If you've got a sandy loam, which is good for lawns, there anyway, leaving the plugs on will be fine. They will dry up. And the other thing is when you're doing your aeration, you want to wait till it's quite dry and almost. I remember Randy Smith used to say, "I like to see the dust fly when I'm aerating." Because otherwise it makes pudding.
Are you calling from Victoria area?
No.
From the Okanagan?
No, the lawn is 50 years old as well too, so it's well packed down.
Aeration, overseeding, top dressing, all that stuff is very, very important. Andy, thank you for the call. We're going to have to go on. We got 2 more callers waiting before the break.
All righty. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Andy.
Bye-bye now. And we've got Linda from the Garden Club. Linda, are you promoting another? Are we putting another one on next week?
No. I'm just phoning to say thank you both for making that event just so successful. Oh. It was wonderful, and each of you contributed in your own unique and special way to making it such a success. And on behalf of the members of our club, thank you so much.
Oh, that's
Linda,
very
thank
sweet
you.
of you.
We're both feeling blustery here. I think we're going to have to get some Kleenex out.
But I also will say that the Garden Club meets on Tuesday, and we've got a speaker, Harriet Hanna, who's going to be talking about the best plants for to plant this spring. Our meetings are at the Evangelical Church, Tuesday, the 5th of March, and we start at 6:30.
And that's on Gordon Drive.
Yeah, on Gordon Drive.
Perfect.
Well, Linda, it's a great club, and I'm glad it was a success. When we first heard and you were planning on doing this, to be perfectly honest, I thought, boy, oh boy, are people going to come out in February? And I'm telling you, they came out in droves, and I was impressed with all the folks that contributed to the trade show area, and it was just great. Great.
It was.
Congratulations.
And again, thank you both for your outstanding contribution.
You're so welcome.
Okay.
Thanks, Linda.
Bye-bye now.
Take care. Bye-bye.
And we're going to speak to Ariel. Good morning, Ariel.
Good morning, guys. You know what's falling outside my window? White flakes of snow.
What?
It's dandruff. Sky dandruff.
Sky dandruff,
Nope.
yeah. No.
It's snow. Okay.
Hey,
so
we live in
what?
Kelowna. We live in the Okanagan here. Come on.
I love talking to you guys. My Saturday morning wouldn't be the same without you. Okay, so that darn Helleborus, and Ken, I'll tell you what, I got one bloom on it that's starting to come up. And I can see little shoots, but obviously I'm not going to get blooms. So,
well, not yet. But I would just hang in there. Because mine, I had, like I mentioned to you, I think I mentioned, I'm not sure why, on the email there, that I had 1 year that when they froze absolutely solid and they were covered in buds and all the buds died. They all died. And then, so I went through and I cleaned it up the way I normally do. And then I looked inside and I could, maybe there was a bud coming. So one came up, and then next thing you know, another and another and another. And it wasn't too bad. It was actually, it wasn't quite as good, because what it did was it delayed the bloom. Like, it didn't really get going until I was into April and whatnot. But they are normally very, very early. So.
Well, there you go. But you know what? Also, I think what's really damaged is the heather. I've got two beautiful heather plants I've had for 7 years, and you know what? They are just sticks right now. I was out there pruning them and looking at them, and I'm going, okay, I'm going to call it. Got all this dead stuff off, and there wasn't a whole lot of green nothing in there.
Yeah, it's just too cold this year. That's the thing. Like they measured across the lake. Minus 31 or minus 32 in that range. So that is too cold for heather, even if it's under snow.
But you know, last year's winter was, you remember that prolonged cold that we had and all that? That didn't seem to hurt the heather because it came up beautifully, but there's just sticks right now. I'm so upset.
With the problem, I think, Ariel, what's happened this past winter was there was no winter. It was fall right through to that heavy frost. We had no winter. It was like they thought, okay, we've moved to Victoria. Yeah, and the plants we're now in Victoria. I don't know how that happened, but I'm glad we're here. And all of a sudden, reality came, and we hit that. I mean, like I was saying to Ken during the break, I can't remember if it was during the break or on the air, that little bulb that's coming up by my shop. It was coming up so nicely before that frost. It was showing green, and I thought, wow, look at that. It's coming up middle of winter. It is brown as toast right now. And we don't know. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see whether the bulb itself recovers and shoots up or not. Who knows? But that's the deal. We had that mild winter, and then all of a sudden, bang, and that's the difference.
Yeah. Well, I got snowdrops, and I've got snowdrops and crocuses all coming up. So
nice.
That's really great.
And they don't mind the snow. They actually enjoy it.
No, the snow's
they
fine.
actually don't.
I've got winter.
Anyway, I thought I would let you know what's going on.
Thank you for the call. We appreciate
Thanks
it.
for the update. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Ariel. Bye-bye.
And like I said, I got winter aconite coming up, and I got that beautiful iris, that wonderful iris that was my plant of the week, the Catherine Hodgkin dwarf iris. I want you to look that up. People Google Catherine Hodgkin's dwarf iris.
Yeah.
I think right now Well, right now it's my favorite plant in the garden, but there's lots more coming on that I'll say my favorite.
Yeah.
Like my hellebores are going to come on, and I'll say they're my
I'll
favorites.
come over for a visit, and after the show, and I'll just do a little video on that, and
There we go.
And we'll get that out there.
You betcha. We've got Sandy calling in. Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Have either of you tried starting strawberries from seed?
We did years ago in the nursery. Have you done them at home, Ken?
Not at home, but in nurseries.
Yeah, in the nursery. We grew and sold strawberry plants by seed. We grew potatoes by seed, and we grew peanuts by seed. Mm-hmm. Some odd little things that my mom would introduce into the
because
I tried peanuts, but they just got full of wireworm.
Oh,
could be, yeah.
I didn't get to use any of them.
Yeah, screening over top. There shouldn't, if you put them in a new, fresh location where there wasn't potatoes prior, and then cover them with that insect cloth, because the wireworms, of course, is the little click beetles that come in and they fly in and lay their eggs once they find something yummy to eat or for their larvae to eat.
The problem is with wireworms,
the
too.
chickens ate them instead.
They stay for, I forget what the life cycle is, but my memory, if my memory is correct, and you could look this up on the, Sandy, online, but the wireworm, either the adult or the worm itself, has about a 3-year lifespan.
Oh, yeah.
It's a long time.
One or the other, yeah.
Yeah,
or
I can't
both.
remember how that works, but it becomes an elderly a bug. It's not like a mosquito that lives for a little while.
Anyhow, back to the strawberries.
Right.
That was the main thing.
Okay, let's talk strawberries.
Yeah, strawberries.
I got one package and it has 830 seeds in it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
you're playing the percentages now.
Yeah, you got to get them going early. That's for sure. To get some fruit this year. They always seem to fruit better on their second year. When you go to a garden center, you sometimes can buy them, in little bundles of bare root. You get 10 in a bunch, and you can also buy them in individual pots, and which are also kind of a real head start. When you get those in the ground, they're good in cold weather.
So I plan on planting these today, and
okay,
some of the seeds. But
Yep.
it says once you plant them, you're supposed to chill them for a couple of weeks.
Well, just by planting them out right now outside.
So
No, I wasn't going to plant them outside.
Put some of them outside in the garden bed, and then try some inside, because putting them outside, that's going to chill them for a couple of weeks. No
yeah,
question
it means
about
that when they say that, it means they're non-stratified seed. They're not guaranteed to be stratified. So the seeds need to have that minimum of a month of cold weather. Now, if you bought your seeds 2 months ago and put them in the refrigerator,
I did that actually.
Oh, there you go. They're
because
probably.
I didn't want to put my pots in the fridge.
Yeah.
I don't have room.
Well, they're partially stratified then because they were in the fridge. The other thing is there's this thing with stratification that when they're buried a little bit in soil, the moisture from the soil absorbs into the seed coat a little bit, and it aids in the stratification process. So, yeah, I would just plant some in your little greenhouse there and get those things going, and then also take a tray, seed it exactly the same, but put it straight outside. Let the snow fall on it, and you may see. It'd be nice to compare the two.
Sandy,
Okay.
Sandy, before we take a break here, just one quick question. Is the name on that seed package Sweetheart?
No, it's Regina.
Regina, okay. Because we used to grow one from seed called Sweetheart. Anyway,
These are supposed to be an everbearing.
Well, let's give them out. Keep us informed what's going on.
All right, then.
Thanks, Sandy.
Cool.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. We've got to
Thanks,
take a
Sandy.
short break here. We've got Dan Bruce waiting online here. We're going to have a chat with him this morning. But give us a call. We are here to answer your gardening questions. We'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. Well, here we are. It's going into spring, and I'm sure Dan Bruce is all excited about what's coming up in the garden and poking through. And you got some winter aconite, I'm sure, and a few other things blossoming in the garden. Morning, Dan.
Good morning.
Hey, Dan.
The only thing blossoming in the garden is a bonfire.
Oh, you're still burning.
And the snow is coming down, so that's the situation. But anyway, the last week or so I've been maintaining a family tradition winter family tradition of making marmalade. Let's see.
Hey.
Marmalade oranges are available, and I was able to get some from Farmers Fruit and Produce in Lake Country.
Nice.
What's the difference between an ordinary orange and a marmalade orange?
Well, bite it, and you'll soon see the difference.
Okay. I mean, they are a specific orange. You have to look for marmalade oranges?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, they are Salvail oranges, and they have a rough sort of skin. They're a little smaller than your average eating orange.
Okay.
They're only available in the late winter. And the ones we get here are grown in California for the most part. But horticulturally, the orange, edible orange, we think it came out of India, possibly Southeast Asia, and was transported to Spain in the 10th century by the Arabs. And Spain, the climate in Spain was good for growing these things, and they really became part of the local gardening scene there. The city of Salvail, many of the streets are lined with orange trees.
Wow.
And they are harvested each year, and for the most part, they are packaged and sent to Britain.
Okay.
And our good old friends, the Scots, of course, specialize in the making of marmalade. The Robertson marmalade is famous. And the orange has spread throughout Europe and used for various purposes, not always eating, but in Scandinavia, in Sweden and Finland, they dry the peel and pound it up, and I think in Finland they call it pomerasi.
That's interesting.
My Finnish pronunciation may lack skill, but they combine this with making gingerbread.
Ah, yeah. Dan, we're talking oranges. What about lemons and limes and grapefruit and other citrus?
Well, all those citrus fruits, we think, as I said, were developed in maybe Southeast Asia or in India, and spread into Europe, southern Europe, around the Mediterranean, and then from there, of course, the Spanish took them to Florida, where the orange industry is huge.
Right.
And also in California.
What about mandarin oranges? Are they from the same source?
Same source.
Okay.
And tangerines, of course, are associated with the city of Tangier.
Okay.
In North Africa. And of course it was Tangier that was the handed over to the British as part of the dowry of the wife of Charles I.
Oh.
And the supply of oranges to England has been steady and reliable because of England's long-standing treaty relationship with Portugal.
Okay. And they are very much in the orange industry in Portugal?
Yes. Yeah. But the as many people will know, English people are sometimes referred to as limeys.
Ah, right.
And this comes from the fact that the British Navy, the Royal Navy, in 1795, I think, made it compulsory for ships to carry supplies of lemon juice and lime juice that were issued to the men to prevent scurvy.
Right.
Yep.
I know. I remember that. Yeah.
And it was Captain Cook who, prior to that time, several years before that time, on his explorations in the Pacific, managed to bring his crews home without scurvy because he understood the business of fresh vegetables in the diet. But the sailor, it wasn't that easy because the sailors are very conservative and they didn't want to eat these things.
No.
Vegetables.
Of course.
Don't eat your vegetables.
You wouldn't eat your vegetables. And finally, Captain Cook, who was really quite a mild, easygoing sort of captain, had to order at least 2 floggings.
Because they wouldn't eat their vegetables.
These vegetables.
No, there's something. Our children wouldn't eat their vegetables, but we weren't allowed to flog them. We wouldn't have done that anyway. That was a bad joke. Sorry.
You were not out at sea as captain of a ship.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, look at and Chelsea, not at Chelsea, but at Kew Gardens, there's the orangery. And I think that was a common thing in England back in the day. It was like a greenhouse, and it's where they kept their citrus.
It was a common thing throughout Europe, and particularly in France, where Louis XIV had a gigantic orangery created specifically to grow citrus fruit.
Wow.
And the French gardeners in charge of this thing had their work cut out for them because the plants, the trees grew in big pots.
Right.
And they made little carts so that the pots could be wheeled out onto the patio when the sun was shining and everything was good, and then brought back in at night if it threatened frost.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't a problem that the Spanish had because they're further south and the frost wasn't an issue.
I wonder if they knew what to do with mealybug and scale and spider mite.
Well,
in those days,
when you've got that many gardeners, you can pick them off.
Don't pick them off. That's right.
That sort of thing would have been dealt with in much the same way as we do now with washes and stuff like that to fumigate them.
Mm-hmm. Dan, we're going to run. Appreciate the call, and always an interesting subject to bring with you.
Next week, I'm going to talk about some really inhuman gardening.
Ooh, that's you got me.
Sounds scary.
It's like those television shows where they bring something up and they said, and then they take the commercial break.
Yeah,
and you have to wait for it. We're waiting for it, Dan. We'll see you next week.
You will.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Right.
All right.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, next week on Dan Bruce's Horticultural Corner.
Oranges. Wow, who would have thought all that information about oranges? Eh?
So you get a cross between a pomelo and an orange, and you get...
Plorange?
No, a grapefruit.
Oh, is that...
Yeah, pomelos are natural, and oranges are natural, but grapefruits are a hybrid.
Oh, they are? Okay.
Yeah. But they've been around for a long time.
My mother used to love grapefruit.
Yeah, some people can eat them. I can't eat them. I'm more of a super taster. At least I used to be when I had taste.
Yeah.
I'm tasteless now in a
I
bunch of different ways.
Oh. Not in music, though.
No, I have good taste.
And not in plant choices.
Right.
Now, I just want to mention one thing before we go to break. We've got a minute here, half a minute. Yesterday, we did have a wonderful birthday 2 days ago. That was your birthday, and we recognized that. It was great. But yesterday was my brother's birthday.
Yeah.
And he would have been 71 this year.
Wow.
He passed away at 49 in 2002. And Al, I wish Al was right in this room. He had a whole light. He was a very, very special guy.
Yeah.
My brother.
Super kind.
Interesting, too. He's the only tall Burnett.
Yeah.
He's the only Burnett that hit 6 feet. I mean, Dad and I and Mom and Joan and I'm not sure about Lynn. Lynn passed away when she was very young. But all the Burnetts were short. And then Al. We get family pictures, and they think, where did he come from? Anyway, he's...
he was drinking his milk or having his Wheaties or whatever.
That's right. He's a great guy and a great musician.
Yeah, he sure was. Fabulous.
Happy birthday, Al, wherever you
Al.
are. Mm-hmm. We're going to now take a short break. We'll be back with the Garden Show after the short break. Well, it's a great day in the Okanagan, central Okanagan here. The Victoria folks, unfortunately, don't can't just drive up Dilworth Drive and up to the Greenery, which is opening today.
Oh, it's first day today.
Yeah, today is the big opening, and they always do a great job there.
Yeah.
They focus on early spring plants and flowers, all your primulas and things right now, but they also have lots of perennials.
And
like
tropicals. I think right now,
and they're really
big
into that,
push right now, for tropicals.
And succulents. Secondly, not secondly, but again in line, is Bylands are going to be opening up, I believe, April 1st in Kelowna. They're well open right now in West Kelowna, doing a great job, got everything all lined up there and looking really good. Christmas is packed away, never to be seen until next November.
Yep.
It's in good shape, and we're excited about the KLO location, the new location in KLO. We'll be talking more about that as time approaches. They're going to start stocking it up there, and it's very exciting to have Bylands come over to this side. They started their business in 1954, and with Adrian and Katie Byland across the lake there, in their present location where the garden center is. And they were pretty much wholesale in those days, and then they got the retail started. And that little shed that they had there in 1954 is still there. They use it. It's like an icon right in the middle of that whole huge operation.
Yeah,
and that's where Dad and I used to go and buy fruit trees, from the wholesale. Anyway, Bylands and the Greenery, two Central Okanagan institutions, and they are active this year. So, let's see you, participate in that and support our local businesses. We appreciate it. Victoria is happening. I know that. We've got all sorts of people in Victoria that have given us some information on what's going on. We'd appreciate more. If you are are you listening from Victoria, let us know what's going on in your garden right now. Because it is, we do, at this time of year in particular, it's quite different. As we get into that middle of May, everything levels out. We're all on the same playing field, really.
Yeah.
And the same with Calgary. I mean, heavens, Calgary in Alberta, by the time you get into the middle of May, you're kind of on the same. It's interesting.
Yeah.
In Victoria,
May 24th weekend is the same for a lot of places.
Exactly. It's very fascinating how that works. But this is where we're sort of ahead of the prairies at this time. Victoria is definitely ahead of us at this time. But like I say, I've got lots of stuff coming up in the garden. It's exciting to walk through. Nothing like a walk in the garden every morning with your coffee. Walk through, and you do the same. And then, of course, I go to my little greenhouse and look at things. I've got peppers planted now.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to plant peppers. I'm all ready to
plant
peppers. I was going to plant. In my mind, I'd planted them already, but no, I haven't.
Yeah, mine are about 2 or 3 inches high, but not. Wendy's planted them about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, and they came up and they're just happy and
amazing
and beautiful. Yeah,
mine usually take longer than that to germinate. They're slow germinators.
It's a variety thing. Like we're trying a new variety again this year, and just to see it's a green pepper variety. Yep. But there's a lot of peppers, and I think they're all a little different. They always say that the jalapeno is the one that's the quickest to grow, and it really is. It's so fast. But
for 70 years and longer, more than that, probably 80 years, 85 years, our family, Burnett's, have been buying from Stokes Seeds. Okay,
right,
great company. We've relied on them. They're a Canadian company. They do go into the States now, of course. And as a homeowner, I was able to buy, $30, $40, $50 worth of seed and get them shipped with a small shipping fee and whatnot. They've changed it this year. And somebody told me about this, and then I didn't realize it until I went to their website. You have to order $250 worth of seeds. And the shipping is $14.99, $15.
Yeah,
on the $250 worth of seeds.
Well,
for a homeowner, it takes a bit
expensive
to get up there. So I went to Vessie's this year, Vessie's seeds, and I've ordered my cucumbers, my favorite cucumbers,
the Carmen
cucumbers.
Oh yeah,
I got them from Vessie's.
I'll buy a couple seeds off you.
I googled Vessie's seeds. No, I googled Carmen cucumber seeds which is my favorite cucumber. We grow them every year, and they are real producers, long English producer cucumber. I've ordered them from Vessey's this year because that's what came up on my computer. But while I was in the Vessey's catalog, I couldn't resist. I've spent about I think I spent about $75 worth of seeds. You know. You just get
and
weird.
Your garden's about the size of this table.
You get weird when all you have to do is press a button. Yeah, I'll take a pack of that. I'll take a pack of that. You're pressing the button on the computer.
It's so much fun.
It is fun. And
well, I'll be knocking on your door. If you have too much of something, I'll buy them off you. We'll share in the wealth of seed.
I know. See, that's a passion of mine and yours is growing plants and whatever. I also have another passion, that's machining. I'm starting to really enjoy my machining experience here.
Yep.
We're talking. I bought a book when we were down in Seattle called it was all about precision,
right?
And it's all about the history of precision. I mean, when you look every day, you look at anything in this room, whether it's the phone, whether it's the precision is so important.
You take it for granted.
Everything, like the ballpoint pen, that's precision. I mean, trying to put a little ball in the tip of the thing and have ink come down and roll and have it roll like a bearing, that's precision. Try and make one of those in your backyard with a file. Not going to work.
With a file.
I just got a testimonial from our dear friend Teresa Hodge.
Oh yes.
Who, by the way, I was watching all her endeavors this last couple of days ago. Went over and visited with them, and she swears by Vessey seeds. By way too many, though. Well, that's typical. But anyway, she's got some really good things. I'll show you some pictures I took of her plants under her grow lights and that.
Oh, that would be
nice. Got the greenhouse sealed up, so she's going to be able to get out there and get some stuff going in there.
Cool.
But hey, Teresa, get those peas outside. Get them into the greenhouse. They'll be fine out there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It's getting close. What I do with my peas is I wait a little bit until about the 15th of March, and then I plant them into 6-packs.
Oh, okay.
And I put them on the heated bench, and they just go boom. And then within a week, they're like 2 inches high. In a week and a half, they're 3 inches high. And when they're about 2 to 3 inches, that's when I move them straight outside and plant them. And I protect them from the birds with some chicken wire. Yeah. And because those little birds, those house sparrows,
that'd be salad for them.
Oh, they get right inside. I covered them with a little, with the chicken wire, but I left one end open. I thought, well, they'll never go in that end. They're not that smart. Well, guess what? They got in the end of it.
They got a nose.
They hop along. It's only like 4 inches tall. Then they hop inside there and eat the leaves. They just love those things.
It's like a smorgasbord.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, every year you have to do your preventive maintenance when it comes to the vegetable garden, that's for sure.
There we go. We're going to take a break pretty soon here. Give us a call after we get back from the break, 250-862-2525 to get through to us if you live in the Kelowna area, and 1-888-780-4273 if you're from Victoria or anywhere online. Got to mention before we take the break, though, green bin pickup is starting in Kelowna. Not sure about Victoria. Maybe somebody can tell us about that. But the green bin pickup, what a great system that is. Oh, man. And then we've, of course, don't tell anybody, we've got a place where we have 2 green bins available because they have no vegetable stuff to throw out in their place. And so we have those extra 2 bins.
Yep.
So I go over and grab them, fill them up, and take them back there. They get them picked up.
Oh, yeah. I've got to start filling mine. I've been trying not to move or disturb anything from the fall when I did my fall cleanup. I just wanted things to kind of die in place, and it was because of the lack of insects that I've had last year. Very few insects on my property. So they say if you leave everything and just to kind of do its thing in the fall, that tends to be beneficial to insects and things and helps them over winter. But, that's coming up. Their happy times are going to come to an abrupt end here because next, maybe this Sunday, actually, I'll start stuffing the green bin and getting there cleaned up.
Yeah, well, I cut my laurel down that was all frozen. I cut it right down to the ground. I've got the new shoots coming up at the base. It'll regrow. Ken, I'm going to show this. If you come by this afternoon, take a couple of movies. I want you to see Don Stoltz's little steel chainsaw, hand chainsaw.
Oh, yeah.
Electric.
Okay.
I'm telling you, it's the best thing since sliced bread. And he loaned it to me to cut this laurel down, and I'm telling you, I want to buy one, but then I don't have a real use for it. So we have one in the family. I'll loan him my transit level and my packer, and he can loan me his steel chainsaw, and we're good.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Well, here we
Fabulous.
go. We're getting into that break time now for the middle of the break. We do invite your calls when we come back after the break. We love being here, and spring is around the corner, and we love to hear from those Victoria folks. We will be back with the Garden Show after this short break. Well, here we are back with you on a beautiful Saturday morning. It's a little overcast here in the Okanagan, and there's snow in the mountains and a little bit of snow falling. I call it sky dandruff.
Yep.
That's about all it is. But there's lots going on in the gardens right now. We're excited. Down in the show in Seattle, which we had a fabulous time down there. I went to an orchard. Bee, the pollinator orchard mason bee.
Yes, right.
Thing. And I'm going to actually contact him. Maybe next week we'll get him on. I just haven't had time to organize that. But we'll get him on just to talk. He was very, very knowledgeable about mason bees. And he kind of explained to me, and what did he call that bee? You know that little tiny bee that I have in mind? I showed it.
Oh, the leaf cutter bee?
Yeah, leaf cutter bee.
Yep.
And that's what I've got. He verified that. He said, "Oh, that's a leaf cutter bee."
Yeah,
and
nice.
he says that's a pollinator as well. It's good, but it's not good to have it come into your mason bee things.
Yeah, you put a little sign up.
Yeah,
mason bees only.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, my little bee hive thing has much smaller holes than the mason bee, so I think I've attracted the leaf cutter bee. I think
like
it said,
it.
"Okay." I don't think the mason bees like it because mason bee holes are about the size of a pencil.
Yeah.
These are about half that size. They're quite a bit smaller.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, very fascinating. And I showed him a picture of my bees buzzing around there. He said, "Oh, those are leaf cutter bees."
Oh, cool.
So, and interesting. So we'll get him online here. And we also stopped in at a booth down there. And, of course, we got a very active bonsai club here. Don Tamaki and et al. Does a heck of a job with their bonsai club. They were part of the action at the Garden Club event on Saturday, which was really good to see them there. But you always like to get, a cross-section of information and whatnot thoughts. And there's a really great bonsai importer and grower that we ran into at Seattle at the fair. And we had a nice chat with them, and they have offered to come on and show as well.
Oh, nice.
And do a little chat with us. It's a father and son company, which is I always like that too, father and son. But anyway, we're gonna get them on, and of course the orchid folks in town here. We'll get the orchid people on too to talk orchids, because orchids, people. If somebody said to me, "What's your favorite flower? What's your favorite plant?" If they say favorite flower, I have to say orchids. I just they're so unique and so varied. There's so many different shapes and sizes. Yeah. They all have the same parts, but they are configured in different ways, and there's different colors.
Each orchid only has one species of insect that actually pollinates it, and the flower is shaped specifically for that species, which is pretty interesting. So that's where if the insect goes extinct, so does the flower.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is interesting.
And it is. It's symbiotic. And there's the orchids have so many different species out there. Some that live in frosty areas like ours.
Oh yeah,
and we've got a few native orchids here.
Yeah,
and I've got a couple of them in my garden, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah, and Dan had that one really nice one going down his driveway for years and years. I'm not sure if it was a Blatilla or what it was. I have it recorded somewhere what it was, but it was just a lovely little thing, and it just popped up just in the Okanagan forest, and it was only about maybe 10 inches high, but it would bloom beautifully every year, typically in the month of May, and it was a lovely little orchid, purple color.
Yeah, so there's three things. I love orchids. I'm having trouble. I've got about 3 species. Never any problem with making your common moth orchid, the Phalaenopsis bloom. No problem there. I've got 2 or 3 other species that, boy, I've had for 3 or 4 years, and I haven't gotten to bloom yet. And I don't know. We'll see what happens. I had some orchid plants that I had purchased years and years ago, and they eventually developed scale. And I tried my best to get scale under control. But, that's the thing that I've found nowadays in my greenhouse. In the greenhouse. And I haven't told you about this. But that beautiful orchid that you gave us.
Orchid?
Epiphyllum. There was a pot full of various varieties.
The orchid cactuses.
Orchid cactus, yeah. Not the phalan, but the epiphytes. I've had that for 5, 6, 7 years. Ken, I was in the greenhouse a couple of weeks ago, and I got it in the greenhouse up near the heater, and it's off out of sight kind of thing, and I just water it when it needs it. It was so full of mealybug. I have never seen mealybug infestation that bad. I am hoping, I
cool it off.
I got in there and I carefully cut every piece off it, then lifted it outside, put it in the green bin. I hope, and I've really kept an eye on things. I hope it didn't spread, but
it's a temperature thing. Like I've noticed where I have a little bit of mealybug here and there. As long as I'm keeping them somewhere, say room temperature or even a bit cooler, they are a little bit slower to multiply. But as I get closer and closer to the heater or the grow light. Oh, my God, the ones that are right close to the grow light, it's like you can just sit there and watch them multiply. They go so fast. Oh, yeah. And it only takes that one becomes... They're they're very similar to aphids, the way they multiply. And, boy, they get out of hand. Anything succulent.
Well, yeah, I know. It's...
And actually just about anything. Even my prayer plant, I had a few on the prayer plants, and they were really hard to get because the leaves kind of roll, and they get down inside there, and oh man, they're a little bit tough. But you know what? Once you get them outside in the summer, the insects come and eat them.
Not an issue, isn't it? Isn't it fascinating how the beneficial
wasps are one of the best ones for that. The wasps come in and they hover around your plants and eat all the insects off them, and mealybug and aphids are their favorite.
And folks, we don't like wasps when they sting you. There's no doubt about it. And I've been hit a few times. And some people, it's even worse because they're allergic to the venom. However, what a wonderful, beneficial insect.
Oh, yeah.
Donnie and I were standing on his deck one time. He had a cherry tree.
Yep.
And it was full of leaf rollers. The wasps are in there. They literally peel the leaf open and grab the leaf roller larva, worm out of there, and fly off with it. And we were so fascinated by watching this. It was just like, it's amazing. This is, natural.
Nature at its best.
Yeah.
And wasps are a highly beneficial insect, for sure. And it is, there's different species of wasps.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. I think we had something like 3,000 different species in North America. But with that in mind, some are tiny, some are so tiny you can barely see them, and some are really big, like hornets and that sort of thing. They're all part of the wasp group, and some of those are pretty aggressive and they're bad stingers. But you'll get a lot of species that, even though they can sting, they're very docile. They don't. It's not their thing. They're not aggressive like the big yellow jackets and the hornets. Right? Those are all very aggressive species, but. You'll see these ones around the Okanagan. They just came in, I think, about maybe 20 years ago, and they have these long back legs, and that's how you see them flying. Yes. And you see those ones, and they're very docile. Those, I think, they said they originally came in from Australia.
Okay.
And very common.
Kangaroo.
That's why the long back legs. Yeah, they can hop, and they have a little pouch. No, just kidding. But they, it's that's why you I just let everything live. I let everything live. And then, it's only that when they come into my house and I'm bringing house plants in, then I don't like having spiders in my plants. So I found a good way to get the spiders off the plants when I bring them in is I submerge it in a big bucket of water and drop it right down underwater. And you leave it for maybe 10, 15 minutes, and all the spiders come up to the surface, and you scoop them off. And then you pull the plant out, let it drain, and you can bring it in because they get filled with webs over
Okay,
the
yeah,
winter.
you do this outside before you bring them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's especially these orchid cactuses, right? Because they're so dense, some of them, it's, you can't get in there to clean out. You couldn't pick a spider out of there if your life depended on it. But yeah, it's I just let everything live. And that's been the thing that's been a little strange for me, is to see my yard where I don't use any chemicals or anything and haven't forever. And the whole yard has been end to end, bumper to bumper, flowers and perennials and plants and shrubs and all kinds of mixed things. And yet last year there were like hardly any insects. The ants.
Any bad insects?
Any insects, period. Just
no beneficials?
Almost, no, the occasional grasshopper I saw, and some bumblebees, and one honeybee I saw.
Wow.
But the ants were the one thing, because my entire property from end to end was ant nests. And they were up in the vegetable garden, and they were around my deck, and my paving stones were always had the little piles of ant. You know how they get in there. Ever since we moved in, that was the way it was. And then last year, zero.
No ants?
No ants.
The
That's
vibes.
so
It must be your vibes.
It must be. Maybe I use the diatomaceous earth too much. But I only use that. That's again.
Let's talk a little bit about diatomaceous earth when we come back.
You bet.
We're going to take a short break here, but give us a call. 250-862-2525. 1-888-780-4273 if you're calling from out of town, in the Victoria listening area, anywhere online. We will be back with the Garden Show after this short break. Well, we're back with you on a beautiful Saturday morning, and spring is in the air. We are getting seeds in now. I go to the garden centers, and there's lots going on. Lots of seeds packages are there. They've got lots of bulbs and things. People are, this is the time of year when you want to buy things like gladiola bulbs, begonia tubers, and they have lilies out there. And folks, I'm going to suggest to you, if you're interested in planting lilies, get them early. Get them right now and get them in the ground. I mean, don't hesitate, because lilies should not really be sold at this time of year. Technically, you dig lilies in the fall, and that's when they should be transplanted, is in the fall.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because of market conditions and things like that and timing, pretty hard to get them dug and onto the market fast enough, and people just don't think to buy them. They should be on sale, really, with your tulips and daffodils and things, but they're not. The odd time you'll see them. But now you see the lilies out there. Please make sure you go and buy your lilies, buy all sorts of different, the Orientals and the Asiatics and all the different kinds of lilies.
Regals, trumpet eagles,
so many. And I'll tell you, Ken, I've never enjoyed lilies in my life so much as I have in the last couple of years. We've got quite a few of them from my girl Helen, who we got lots of her plants from her garden. And the lily, they don't just come on all at once. I mean, they come on, and different species come on at different times. And most of them are fragrant. It's just a lot of fun with growing lilies. I'm very, very excited about them. We've got our friend Addie joining us. Good morning, Addie. How are you this morning?
Good morning, guys. I'm fine. How about you?
We're just
good, thanks.
rolling along here.
Good. I started an avocado pit in some water. I went on YouTube and figured out how to do it. Now I've got some long roots on it. Now what do I do with it now?
Well, is it showing some top too?
No, it's not showing any top. It's still in the water. The top is cracked.
Yeah.
It's cracked open. Well, I mean, I think it would be time to get it into a pot, hey, Kent? Do you think?
Yeah, the roots will come first, and then you'll start to see a little pointy shoot coming up, and it takes a little while, but it starts to go. They really love to be warm, so warmth is something that stimulates them to grow faster. And yeah, you can get it into a pot. They need a fairly large pot to start with, like at least like a 6-inch or like a 1 gallon
Why
pot.
That?
Well, because they're just so big. When they you can see that root will get down about 6 or 8 inches right out of the seed, and then the top will start to grow, and it'll grow up about 2 feet and start to leaf out. So they don't start little tiny. They go right to being a fair size right away. So yeah, you can start them in like a 1 gallon pot. That's fine, and they go pretty easy.
And then I keep them outside in the winter, or in the summer, I should say, in the house in the winter, or
Yeah,
How long
basically.
Does it usually last?
Yeah, they don't like temperatures below about 10 degrees Celsius. So they need to be kept warm, and that means you get them growing now. And by the time we get into the end of May or so, then you can sit it outside, get it used to it gradually to the direct sunlight and whatnot. Just like we've talked about before, integrating them into a shady spot and slowly getting them out into the full sun. And yeah, they grow really well, and they can get up. That 1 gallon pot may not last too long because some of the ones that I've grown, it just seems like, just within a few months, they were already about a foot or two high. And then, right away you're thinking, I should have put it in a 2 gallon pot.
Yeah. or keeping it in a smaller pot, Addie, will keep it small,
smaller,
like a bonsai, because they want to get to be a big tree. When we were in Australia, we went to an avocado farm just to see what they looked like, and boy, big trunk, they looked like a bunch of cherry trees.
Yeah, it's like a walnut tree or something.
A walnut
They're
tree,
huge, yeah. They get big.
Really? So they are fast growers then?
Yes.
Okay.
Like
so
a walnut. A walnut is a big seed. And so if you plant that within, a very short time, when that seedling comes out and leaves out, it's already a foot tall when the leaves are opening, So they get pretty big pretty quick.
I've had this in the water probably since the middle of December. So it's taken a long time to root. It cracked first. It cracked open first, and then the roots came out.
Yep.
So now I'm just going to plant it in I'm going to start off with a 2 gallon pot so I don't have to fiddle around with it all summer. And then will it last? Like if I bring it in the house in the winter and then back out again next year, will it last?
Yeah, it's the key is getting that watering rhythm right, as we've talked about before, is sort of making sure it gets watered well when it's watered and then allowed to dry out between waterings. It's sort of a similar philosophy with most indoor plants, is that, and in the wintertime they don't use quite as much water, but it varies. It's all about air temperature, because the air temperature drives the amount of water they need. So once they get out in the summer, and we're pretty hot here in the Okanagan, so once they get out in that heat and they acclimatize to it and everything, then they'll grow, and you just got to be watering them every day pretty much. And the more,
do they need to be misted at all or not?
Indoors, they appreciate it once they get some leaves on them. But for you right now is finding that nice, warm, sunny spot to set them in indoors, so a south or west window, and somewhere where there's some warmth. So like I have little heated pads that I use for my for seedlings and that sort of thing, and that would be ideal, is just sit a pot on a heated pad and give it that bottom warmth, and boy, that just gets them excited and gets them growing.
I have a heated pad that I use for my back, so I guess I can give it to the avocado plant.
There you go. Well, you can get those, the ones for plants. They're waterproof and all that stuff.
They're probably a lot better than that, and I have to pick up one because I'm going to start my seedlings now. But anyway, and my Christmas cactus has gone wild.
Oh, is it?
Just loaded with blossoms.
Oh, there you go. Isn't that fabulous? That's so cool.
And it bloomed at Christmas too.
Well,
it's blooming better now. So.
Yeah, they sometimes do. I had one that just bloomed all winter and kept blooming right into May, I think, which was quite unusual. I haven't had that quite since, but I did get 2 blooms on my yellow Christmas cactus. It's just finishing its second bloom right now. And
I'm still looking for a yellow Christmas cactus. I can't get one. My sister got me one, and by the time I got it from Winnipeg to Kelowna, I guess something had happened to it, and it just never did make it.
Oh, yeah.
So I looked at the greenery last year. Maybe I should get in there while they're open now and see if I can get a Christmas cactus.
And then the Easter cactuses are coming available now, and they are just so beautiful too. And if you have, I have some of those left from last year, so I almost forgot, but I should have started cooling them a bit in about mid-February or end of February, so that they would be flowering in, in early April and end of March. And so I'm going to do mine tonight. I'm going to start cooling them a bit at night. And I'm not sure.
What do you mean? What do you mean cooling them? How do you cool them?
Well, you know how with the Christmas cactuses in September, we start putting them outside and just, leave them outside for about 2 weeks or so, or 3 weeks. And the nights cool down to that, 8 degrees at night or so. And that's what sort of sets them to flower. And then when you bring them in at the end of September, they're ready to go. Well, these are the same thing, but instead of end of September, it's more like the end of February. So So you do the same sort of thing, is that you have to cool them a bit in the end of February or into early March, and that'll generally trigger them to start blooming in April. So
where do you cool them? Like if they're in the house?
That's a good question, and that's what I've been thinking. Like, how am I gonna cool mine? So I have some windows like with a large sill on it, and I'm thinking I'm going to put them right on that sill, close to the glass, and that cool air that comes off at night should be enough to give them a bit of a trigger. And I do that for about 2 weeks, and then
if they get sun during the day, it's okay.
Oh, they need sun, yeah. No, they're not really affected by day length. It's something I do see a lot on the internet with some of these species, is people talking about using the day length, but they're not really plants that respond to day length, just because they're tropical. So where they come from, the days don't change in length much.
The Christmas cactus I have now, I usually put it out like the beginning of June in a totally shaded spot, and that's where it stays all summer.
Yeah, me too.
And I bring it in the end of September, maybe the middle of October, and then it just blooms like really.
But it's that September cooling down period. Every day it gets a little cooler at night. And that's what triggers it, is the nighttime temperatures. And so same with the Easter cactus. It's just opposite. So where it's from is affected differently. It comes through a cooling period, and then after the cooling period, it'll flower. So yeah, this is now the time to do it.
Addie, one thing before you go, we've got to take a break here, but one thing before you go, on that heating pad, you were kind of joking about using the pad that you use for your backache. People have to remember that you can't do that because they're not
too hot.
Well, no, it's not only that; it's to do with the water issue. I mean, they're not registered for use with water.
Yeah, exactly.
and you could end up with electrical shock and stuff. So you buy the proper heating pad for your.
I will do that.
Okay, dear.
Thanks a lot, guys. Really
thanks, Addie.
Yeah.
Love you.
Thanks,
Take care.
Addie.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
And on that note, bottom of the hour, we're going to take a short break. We've got lots of time yet for calls, and I'm sure people are out there just interested in some of the things that are going on in their garden. Mm-hmm. Ken and I'd be happy to help you with those. And give us a call, give us a shout when we come back with The Garden Show after this short break. Well, Ken, I don't know if you want to call them farmers or if you want to call them scavengers or you want to call them stashers or what. But we don't have a producing walnut anywhere that I know of close to us, okay?
Yep.
And yet I have walnuts coming up my yard all the time. And it's because of these squirrels. They grab the walnut, and they travel around, and they bury them here and there.
They plant them.
And we were kind of thinking, are they doing that for future orchards so that they got food in the future? Or are they doing it because they forget where they put them?
Yeah. Apparently they do forget, apparently.
Yeah. Because,
there's been a lot of studies on that. Yeah. A lot of studies, and the gray squirrels especially, which are invasive in North America. But yeah, those invasive species, they're pretty smart and not so smart at the same time. Mm-hmm. But I've heard that what they do, like in some of the parks, and again, there's people who just have nothing better to do, I guess, than to study them. But they'll study these things, and they'll go out, they'll take a seed of some sort, and all the other squirrels are watching.
Yeah.
So what they do is they go out and they pretend to bury it. So they dig a hole and they pretend to put it in, but they don't actually put it in. They keep it.
Sneaky.
And then they bury it back in and they pack it down and off they go. And then the other squirrels right away, they come running down, they dig it up, and there's no seed there.
Oh.
So it's this thing that it's all part of the master plan.
Master plan. They
got to be smart.
The nature,
I guess.
Natural plan there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. My bird bath is being occupied now on these nice mild days. Got lots of birds, and nice. there is a lot of kind of controversy about looking after your birds, whether it's bird baths or whether it's feeding birds. Mm-hmm. I know Brian Minter sells absolutely no bird seed anymore. Because of the avian flu thing. And so he doesn't sell it. He just won't sell it because of that
attracts too many different species.
I don't know the logistics or the methodology or whatever you want to call it, how it works, but he said feeding the birds in the backyard with your bird feeder is contributing to avian flu.
Oh, okay.
Now, down at the coast, the avian flu thing is huge.
It's a big deal, yeah.
The eggs and chicken farms, huge factor. However, I love our bird bath, and the birds love our bird bath. And what I do is I use some hydrogen peroxide pretty much daily as we clean up the bird bath. We clean it all up, throw in a few drops of hydrogen peroxide, 3%, and that, I think, is one way of curtailing any issues with
cleaning it regular is really a good
clean
idea. Yeah,
because they poop in there. They do that.
Well, they're not smart. You got to put up a little sign that says, "Attention, birds, no pooping in the water,
I know.
please."
We don't swim in your toilet, so don't poop in our
bird baths.
Okay, so I've seen that sign out there. So we talked about the heater. Now the heater that we're talking about that we want to see, the little Jiffy heaters that fit one flat. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, of course, I've got the ultimate heater because you gave me some long coils.
Oh, yeah, the cable.
And I put them on my whole bench. Now I've plugged that in, so I got the whole bench is heated, which is really cool. And it's got a thermostat, so I can watch that.
Yeah, very nice.
Anyway, this bottom heat is the key thing. I've got geraniums rooting. I've got all sorts of things, and bottom heat is your key there. Very, very important. We're going to go right to the phone lines here because we've got Linda calling in. Good morning, Linda.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to thank the Kelowna Garden Club for putting on the trade show last Saturday.
Oh, nice.
And also to thank the Art Naps for the free primulas they were giving out.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, nice.
I was inspired with several of the booths, such as the Bonsai Club, but especially the native bee booth. I didn't realize that some bees are so small and some don't even look like bees.
Yeah. Lots of action going on out there.
Yeah. So the question I have is, I didn't replant the tulip and daffodil bulbs, and so should I wait till autumn or
no? Get them in the ground, Linda. Get them in there
right now. Yeah, get them in
right away
so they can get some cooling, some cold temperatures they need. So I'd plant them right away, and they may not bloom this year. Like they might come up just with green foliage, but that's okay. If they grow the green leaves this year, then next year they'll flower. You might get some flowers. It all depends on how much that bulb has depleted. Because have they been stored at room temperature, or have they been in the refrigerator?
No, room temperature.
Yeah. So the refrigerator keeps them fresh, just like other, like say onions or onions are pretty good. They're actually pretty good dry, but other bulbs they keep better in refrigeration.
Yeah, they could be degraded somewhat, Linda. So get them in the ground right away.
Today, yeah.
Today.
There you go.
It's snowing.
Yeah, they love the snow.
They want to be in the ground.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Good luck.
And thanks for that comment on the show. It was a great show.
It was. I'm glad they put it on. It was very informative and inspiring.
Yep. Gardening into the future. Thanks, Linda.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye. Yeah, it was a great thing, and
super fun.
I'm going to have to convince the garden club to go ahead and do it again next year. Yeah. It was a big effort to put that on.
Oh yeah,
and it was so nice to see it successful. Because when I heard it was going to happen in February, I thought, that's
well, they
sell,
had that big event before COVID kicked in. They had that at the college, Okanagan College, and that was very much a success as well. So, something should be happening. It's we're back at it, back in the garden.
And folks locally here in the Kelowna area, the Flower Power Garden Tour, Saturday, June the 15th, 9 exceptional gardens coming up. So I'm telling you, that is something to take. One of the things I love about the garden tours is the fact that you can pick up information and ideas. You can walk around with your plagiarizing pen and just writing stuff down and saying, yeah, let's do this, do that. Because so many neat, unique ideas come out of people's minds when it comes to gardening, whether it be the ornaments in the gardens and things like that, or plant choices, or
plant combinations,
combinations, methodology, rock work, hardscapes.
I like to see sometimes like an older plant in a landscape, and it's and especially if it's something that might be a little bit unusual, but you'd see this older plant noting that we've had these severe winters and whatnot, and this plant must have been there for, 30 years or so. And it just sort of is a proofing that plant that that's a good sturdy plant for this climate, or the climate you live in. So, yeah, garden tours are awesome information.
Go to that. And there will be other garden tours too. And I'm sure there'll be some garden tours happening in Victoria, and want to take part in that as gardeners. That's what we do. That's a one way of getting those ideas, I just want to mention again, I do have those hop vines available for you. There's 6 of them to give away, hop vines. And Don Stoltz has a hop vine and some in his new home. And I'm telling you, he's just all over that. He just, that thing, at first we were going to dig it out and say, hop vine. It was the most gorgeous thing all summer long, and green and grew fast and covered, shaded his deck in the
wonder if the
appropriate way.
bees go after hops. They must. I guess every flower has some sort of pollinator.
Bees, yeah.
They're pretty flower.
They all start with a bee, bees and beer.
That's why, yeah.
And hops, yeah.
It's a pretty flower. I like it.
It is, and it's very hoppy. It smells quite hoppy.
Yeah.
So you know where that comes from. Yeah. Next week, I'm going to get Elaine Cameron's 1953 March version of her diary. I'll get it on board for next week.
Nice.
She was out very active at this time of year. This is when spring starts, and we're all excited about it. I've got some, as I said, I've got my geranium cuttings started. I've saved about 4 mother plants, geraniums, the apple blossom and a really good red. I don't know the name of it, but it's a really good red. And
it's called Good Red.
Good Red. That's what I call it on the tag. It says Good Red. Big Good Red. And so I've got them rooting right now.
We've got a lovely little clear pink. It's just a beautiful shade of pink, and we've lost the name of it too, but it was so beautiful in the garden. We had to save some, and we saved, I think, 1 plant, and then we did a run of cuttings back at the end of January, and now those cuttings are like nice, fat little 4-inch pots already. They're just blooming their hearts out. Of course, we have a little grow light over them, but they're pretty.
Last year, Ken, our good friend and listener, longtime listener, Jack, mentioned he had these Calla.
Right.
Calla. Corm. I think they're corms.
Yeah, I
corms. I don't think they're tubers. I think they're corms. Anyway, these Calla bulbs. Let's call them all bulbs. Everything's a bulb.
Yep.
It's round like a bulb. Must be a bulb. So anyway, so he had these available, and we talked about them on the radio. And he brought them by. Brought me a bag of them, of these dormant bulbs by, and put them in a box, and I put them in my workshop down at the base of my bandsaw. And it was quite close to my heater too, which maybe not have been a great idea. It should have been cooler. But the other night we were having a little visit, my wife and I, Donna. We were in the shop, and she's always wanting to organize and get the shop cleaned up and whatever. And I don't blame her, but she's getting used to it now. She can come out. She doesn't get quite as icky when she's out there.
Yeah.
She'll dust the chair off.
Used to
dust the chair off and sit down with her little glass of wine and watch me work and do my thing. Anyway, she glanced over. She says, "What's in that box?" I totally forgot about these callas. Callas. I totally forgot about them. So I said, well, I grabbed them and I put them all. I potted them all up now. And Jack, if you're listening, they are coming up beautifully in my greenhouse right now. They're looking really good. They all have a little shoot coming up on them.
And those are not necessarily ones that were hardy, though, as far as we know. Do we?
Not in the Okanagan. I believe they're hardy in Victoria. Maybe somebody could fill us in on that.
Well, there's some that are hardy here.
Are there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
At least they were until we got these last 2 winters. But there's a little property just down off of Cook.
Okay.
And a gentleman there, he had a bed of them about 3 feet wide by about 20 feet long. And they were 3 feet high. Beautiful and full bloom, and I looked at him. I went, "Wow, those are gorgeous." And he was there, so I asked him, "What do you do with these? Like, you have to dig them up every year?" Or he said, "Oh, I don't know. They've been here for like 10 years. I don't know. I don't do anything with them. Just cut them off."
Well, Ken, it's very interesting, and we got to take a short break here. But I have a gladiola that came through last year, not last winter, this winter, but the winter before, where we had that 30 below zero.
Oh, yeah.
And and it's not covered or anything, and the gladiola came through.
Yeah,
So
we've
it's really
had some up. My mother-in-law up in Peachland, she used to plant a lot of glads all over the place, and they would come up every year. And I couldn't believe it.
When I was younger, I would never have thought that was possible.
No,
anyway.
I think as the climate was warming, it's really helped that a lot. But these last few blasts we've had may put an end to it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Never know.
Who knows? That's what makes gardening so interesting, and why we can be on here for 1,700 and some odd shows, or whatever it is, 1,800. Yeah, 1,900 and some odd shows now. That we still are passionate and having fun.
So much to learn.
We want to invite your calls because we're going to take a short break here. 250-862-2525. Locally, 1-888-780-4273 if you're calling from Victoria or anywhere online. We'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. Okay, we're going to put out a little bit of a challenge to people this year about trying something different in the garden, something that you haven't done before. I'm going to definitely, the one thing I haven't done before is grow callus. And now I've got them massive callus, and Jack says his callus just come up like duck soup in his yard. And so I'm hoping we're going to have a nice show of that. The other thing I'm going to do is buy more zinnias. I've got more zinnia seeds coming in. Zinnias were so successful last year. I was so happy with our big state fair zinnias. Great for cuttings. I don't think you can get a better cut flower.
It's pretty hard to beat, and the bees love them, and they're relatively deer resistant. I have deer coming right around mine all the time, and they won't eat them. And so I've got them on my deer resistant plant list. So
perfect.
But
there's shorties, and there's tallies, and there's in-betweenies. And
there's all different
some
sizes.
Big flowers, some little flowers, some pom-poms, all sorts.
Singles, doubles.
It's almost like dahlias,
Cactus flowered ones. Yeah. There's so many different types. It's really become, I think, my favorite favorite. I don't know if to say cut flower, but I'm just going to say to grow. If I'm going to grow something in the garden, like we grow a row that's 2 feet wide by about 20 feet long, and we just stuff it full, and it just blooms and blooms, and the hummingbirds come in, and it's beautiful, and we can just cut flowers out of there all season long.
We used to sell one called Cut and Come Again.
Oh, yeah.
Cut and Come Again.
And that was a zinnia.
It was a zinnia, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so, like I said, great cut flower. Another great cut flower that people don't think about is my false sunflower.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Baby, boy, I'll tell you. Heliopsis. You cut those and put them in the vase. They last and last and
They're
last.
beautiful, yeah. And there's more varieties of those coming down the tubes as well. Like all these, it used to be just sort of one variety years ago. There's a big yellow one. But then there was, a series of different ones that came onto the market. Now it's going to be one of these ones that really explodes. We're going to get all kinds of dwarf varieties. They're just a long blooming perennial. They're easy to grow. They're very adaptable. Heliopsis.
Mm-hmm.
And summer sun is the common one.
Yes.
That's, I think, the one you have.
Yeah, it's a tall one.
Yep.
Quite tall. If anyone out there has tried something different and new, share it with us because we're always interested in jumping on something new. I don't have a heck of a lot of yard to deal with, not nearly as large as yours, Ken. However, I am going to try and do some more groupings of zinnias.
Yep.
My dad used to say two plants that do so well in the Okanagan, zinnias and geraniums. Those two are real good hot lovers of Okanagan plants. And we do get the heat here. There's no question about it. We get the heat. And we do get a little cool in the wintertime. But in the summer, we get the
zinnias are quite drought tolerant. Where I had mine growing, like I did have a little drip line on them there for a while, but a lot of them were like 2 feet away from the drip line. And then I really rarely watered them, but they must have got a little bit of moisture underneath, but they didn't. They never wilted. I never had wilting.
Well, the neat thing about them is that they're a plant that can wilt. I've gone out and my zinnias in the pots, and they're just hanging like, oh, my goodness, what's going on? Mm-hmm. And I soak them up, and bingo, they pop right back. Yep. Some, they go over the brink. They can't do that. But the zinnias were very, very responsive to watering after they got very, very dry. So you can call that drought tolerant too.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's amazing. Like I said, there's a lot that I had that they hardly got any water, if any at all, and they didn't wilt. Like I didn't get any wilting. The other thing I was going to mention, we were talking about the greenery there, is that the greenery, they do have zinnias in individual colors. Which is really nice, because like if you want to grow cut flowers and you have your favorite two colors or a combination you like, you can buy each color individually, which is something typically when you buy the seed yourself, you'll usually come as mixtures. And I'm sure they're available in single colors, but just not the selection.
I don't often see zinnias in packs in single colors. I see various types, various forms of zinnias. Yep. But not single colors.
Big bench full. Yeah. Huge selection.
That's
good.
Fabulous. The greenery, yeah.
There we go. Small, medium, and large. And the large ones are the cut flowers. Anything that's tall. We talked about snapdragons before and how great they are as a cut flower. They're one of the longer lasting cuts. But you have to get the real tall ones. The rocket series is what we usually get. And they're generally about 2 feet or even a bit taller than 2 feet sometimes. And so perfect for cut flowers. Yeah.
We talk about the greenery a lot. The great place, very unique place in many, many ways. But most garden centers are unique in their own way. They all have their own flavor.
You have to go to all of them.
We've got Byland's. We've got Rick's Garden World. We've got Art Naps. We've got
the greenery, and Cal Lake Nurseries out in Lake Country, which Cal Lake is, they're doing a lot of improvements there, so we're hopefully going to see quite a wide selection of plants and just getting better all the time. Every year, getting better.
Dogwood. Don't forget about Dogwood.
Forget Dogwood.
Dogwood Nurseries. Yep. I don't want to miss anybody, but those people work hard as family operations to make things happen.
Yeah,
we appreciate. We know that the box stores, let's face it, they do a good job. But they're not always as consistent as the local, and they don't give you the information.
It's quite a different situation. I mean, that's where you get that spontaneous. You go in and see something really nice, and you end up getting it. But it's those impulse buying.
Well, in case in point, I've got my pansies from them in the fall to plant up after I pulled out a lot of my annuals out of the things. I planted the pansies, and of course, with this mild winter, they just shone all year.
Love it.
Now, and I had them in pots as well. When we had that forecast of that very, very cold winter or cold weather coming on, I took them and I put the pots in the greenhouse, and then brought them back out again when it warmed up again. Now, the interesting thing is the ones that I left out in the planters are toast. They got nailed with that.
They should come back, though.
That cold weather.
You think they'll shoot from the base?
They might, Ken, but they don't look very happy. They look pretty done.
That was quite the drop, though.
They look pretty done. They were all happy. They thought spring had come, and bingo, they got nailed. So what I did, of course, with my greenhouse ones, I put the others back in the greenhouse, and I have them ready to come back out to enjoy. But they're a great thing, and I bought those at Home Depot.
Yeah, the plants, they don't really care where they come from. It's just I think sometimes they're, if they don't sell right away, they were wishing they were at the garden center sometimes.
We've got a caller. We've got a late caller.
Yep.
We're going to talk to him. John from Peachland. Good morning.
Hello, Don Ken.
Hey.
Listen, I planted the garlic Thanksgiving last year, and it started coming up pretty soon, right, because of the mild.
Yes.
And so I covered it in leaves, and I see it's up. It's got 3 or 4 leaves on each clove now, and it's up probably 8 inches at least.
Oh, good for you. Good for you.
It'll still be fine.
You're out of the glue now, but I would get those leaves off a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Cut them down a bit?
Well, no, I'm talking about the covering that you put on. You put some leaves.
Oh, yeah. No, I started doing that last week. Yes,
good for you. Yeah, because they get weak underneath those leaves. I mean, don't throw the leaves out. They're great. Put it back in the garden. But your garlic's going to be fine.
Okay, now I wanted to plant more, and I've had it in the fridge all winter. It looks in great shape. So will that?
Get it
I've
in the
never
ground.
planted it. Okay, never
Sooner
planted
the
it
better.
spring
Yep.
before.
Yeah. No, they're always better planted when you planted it, but I would say get them out there right now.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
There you go.
You
Great.
betcha. All right.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks
Take
for calling,
care.
John.
Bye.
Take care.
And
Bye.
what a
Bye-bye.
wonderful area, neck of the woods Peachland is. It's
Yeah,
almost
it's
like a
lovely.
little area there that stays
Microclimate.
microclimate.
Yeah, that's what we're looking
I was trying to find. Yeah.
All right.
Here we go. We're getting right into the short strokes here. We're going to take our plants, tips, and plants of the week right now. Well, it is time to get some peas in the ground. Perfect time of year right now in the Okanagan and in Victoria to get some peas planted. There's so many choices now. My plant of the week is so many choices. I could walk around the garden and pick so many choices. In fact, I'm going to carry on with my genus of the week as we carry on here. But right now, the shining light in my garden, and I want you folks to look up Catherine Hodgkin's Dwarf Iris. It's a fabulous little plant, and we got this from our dear friend Helen a few years ago. And it's been showing off for a couple of weeks now, and it'll keep showing
gorgeous.
off for a little while.
Very
Not a
early.
long-lasting plant, but really cool.
Yeah, sure is lovely. All right, I also have a tip on a plant. My tip of the week is that when you're planting your seedlings, keep the air moving. And that's usually done by just placing a small fan somewhere nearby that can just blow over top of the seedlings every once in a while, or like rotating, oscillating, or just blasting on them. The seedlings are used to air movement in nature, but in the house, sometimes it's just absolutely still, and they just get kind of weakened a bit. So try to keep the air moving. It not only strengthens them, but it does help to reduce diseases that might come in as well. All right, my plant of the week is celery. This is the time you seed celery to get it up and going early. We were talking a lot about seeding today and all the different techniques. You just follow those and grow them on under a little grow light close to a window, and that will get them through until they're ready to plant out about the middle of May, and you can get a good early start on that. All right, that's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com and Grower Coach on YouTube.
You bet you can. Just a reminder, next Sunday, March 10th, Seedy Sunday.
Yeah.
It's coming up in Kelowna.
I'll be doing a seminar
And
on that
Ken
as
will be
well.
out there doing a seminar. And it's
On
always-
vegetables,
yep.
yeah.
Beautiful. That's great. And my Shigo quote of the week is, trees support more communities of organisms than any other organism on Earth. We want to say goodbye till next week, and we'll more of the garden show. Come back next week.